welcome back to the Two Peas in a Podcast. Where have you been? We've missed you. I hope you're good. Hope you've been looking after yourselves and all that good stuff. We are here with another awesome podcast for you, and we're going to get another awesome topic of conversation. But for those that don't know us, my name is Katie. I'm based here in the UK, and my ever glamorous, gorgeous, fan-looking co-host is the wonderful...
Hey guys, I'm Jessica. I'm over here in America.
I'll always pick her up, right? Like, it's like she's fat. Look at us over there.
I don't even know what to say to that. So
my job in life is to make Jess smile, and I will do whatever I can to cheer her up. So there you go.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, I was listening to another podcast this week called the Two Pints Podcast, not Two Peas, Two Pints, and they were talking about something, and it was really funny. And as I was listening, I was like, this would make a good topic conversation for Jess and I. So I thought we're gonna not nick it, but we're gonna kind of go down the same line of conversation and see how we feel about it and what things that we come up with. So the essence of the conversation was this: people in ancient times did not know they were living in ancient times, right? So people, for example, people in ancient Rome did not know they were living in ancient Rome. They were living, in their eyes, in modern day Rome. To them, they were living their best lives. And we can look back at them now and go, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they were doing this. And there was all these things, right? And so in that kind of frame of reflection, what are things that we do today that in like 200 years time, people are going to look back at and go, I can't believe they used to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
When you suggested this topic, I was instantly excited. And I instantly started thinking of things. I don't know. And like I was telling you, it really depends on your perspective of where you think humanity is going.
Sure.
That's going to affect everybody's answers, which is what I thought was so interesting about this, because for every way that we are the same in life, we are actually very different. And we have very different opinions and outlooks sometimes on things. So I'm just interested to see where your mind thinks that humanity is going versus where my mind thinks it's going.
Because it's not something that we generally talk about in the day-to-day. We don't go, oh, 200 years from now. Like, we don't do that. So
no.
We're probably going to find out things about our own mindset today that perhaps we didn't realise. So this is going to be a good one, guys. And so not that it's going to get to fisticuffs. I mean, we're kind of very separated by ocean, even if it did. But still, we're going to try and keep, we're going to try and keep this as light as we can. But also, we're not afraid of debate. I'll bring this back. So absolutely not. So I always start. So I'm going to let you start for a change, Mrs. What was your first thought about all of this?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I always start. So I'm going to let you start. So what's your first thing?
I've heard that part, but I didn't hear what you said after that. Okay, so my first thing was humans performing surgeries. I think that's going to be weird in about 200, 300 years. We're doing like 200, 300 years, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's going to be weird, especially with the advancements in medicine with AI and robots. I think that there's already robots in certain places that perform like certain surgeries that are too delicate for, humans to do. So yeah, I think that in like 200, 300 years, humans performing surgeries is going to be weird.
I get that. It's funny you said that. And I'm like, well, of course, that just makes so much sense. Because like you say, there's already this brain surgery that's being done by robots. Anything like you say, anything that's intricate, anything where it's got to be something very small, then they can get in with, whereas human hands can't always get into the same spaces. So it makes sense. I suppose my only reservation would be checks and balances on that, because, I know, but there's a part of me that goes, it makes sense, but there's also a part of me that goes, personally, I don't know how I would feel about having a robot operate on me, but then at the same time, if I'm knocked out, unconscious, would I even know?
I mean, I honestly don't think I would feel any less apprehensive than a human that's prone to error working on me. I feel like there would actually be an efficiency with robots because, like humans leave stuff behind sometimes. Like you hear horror stories of like instruments and utensils left behind, like gauze. Remember when I got my C-section, my doctor, they had everything counted out and they counted every single item, like even the gauze and like cloths that they were using. They counted every single thing to make sure everything was in check so they didn't leave anything in me. As far as money, I am an optimist, even though I know that the world is just, being ruled by greedy individuals. But I'm still an optimist, and I want to believe that if we were switching to robotics, a machine that does not need a salary, because we pay doctors a lot of money, we pay nurses and all these things a lot of money. So if the robots take over, would it be cheaper? I don't know. But either way, I feel like it might be a little bit cheaper, but who knows? And again, that depends on the humans that are in charge of the robots, because if they want greed, then...
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's not that surgeons are then obsolete, because obviously they're the overseers, right? So they would still be part of the process. It still needs human eyes on it, I would think. But I can see, like you say, I can see where it would be beneficial. I think what's interesting as well in terms of medical stuff is the differences, and we've talked about this before, but between our two countries, of course, and what happens with the UK in the future with that, I don't know. But obviously having the NHS as opposed to private medical health insurance.
Right.
And you wonder whether, for you guys, having a robotic surgeon would it affect your health insurance? So all these kind of and I know that sounds like, why would it? But like you said, you've got greedy people in charge, right?
Yeah. I don't know. And it makes you also wonder, how is health insurance things going to be, covered in the future? How is that going to be looked at? I don't know. I want you to go next, because I know that you had a medical type of one.
Yeah, too. I was just going to say, you'll be surprised if they did 2 tiers. So it's like you pay one price for a human surgeon and one price for a robotic one.
That they would, if you're going to pay a price for a robotic one, I'm going to naturally assume that they're saying that there's no flaws with the robot. Which would mean that humans have been making mistakes. And considering how much we have advanced in our medical history, I don't feel like humans do that bad. I mean, give them another 200 years, but I don't know. It just feels weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. But the medical one that I came up with is, and I know you're probably going to have feelings about this one. I can already tell from your body language you have feelings about this one, because I shared my list with Jess before when I was talking about this, so we didn't cross over. And I could tell when I wrote this that she would have feelings about this. I think that people dying from certain diseases that are preventable will not be as big. I'm not saying it won't be a thing. I'm saying it won't be as big a thing as it is now. And I'm not saying all diseases either, but I think there are certain ones. I look at the diseases we have now that people are still really struggling from and can be fatal. And you wonder whether in 200 years' time, we'll look back to now and go, I can't believe people used to die from that.
Actually, this wasn't one of the ones that I was going to debate with you on. But no, this was not one of the ones I had an issue with. I think that this is true and this is accurate. I think in 200 years' time, 300 years' time, we would have found a cure for many cancers by now. Many blood diseases or things that we don't have a problem with, curing now. I think that actually we would have found something better for diabetes, perhaps for high blood pressure. So yeah, I agree with you on this. I don't really have a rebuttal. I think that if 200, 300 years time, we haven't made some of those serious advancements, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I suppose the only kind of, the conspiracy part of my brain, I'm not a conspiracist, but the conspiracy part of my brain would say drug companies make a lot of money.
Yes.
And it is more profitable for them, for us to be sick than for us to be well. So there is a train of thought, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there is a train of thought out there that says they already know the cure for cancer. But they make more money off people being sick. So I'm not saying, again, this is just kind of in the realms of fantasy right now. But I don't know. It's always there in the background, right?
Yeah. And again, it also depends on where you think humanity's going.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think there's going to be some significant wars in the future. And these significant wars are going to break down some of the systems that we have now. Which actually goes with one of my next ones that I could say.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which one, but I feel like there will be one of the. Anyways, sorry, my brain, guys. We're literally about to start the Mercury retrograde. I did a reading where I was like, and I went and I was like, oh my God, just stop, just stop right now, Sorry, let me just reboot my brain, okay? I don't know which one of these examples it's going to be, but I feel like one is going to happen. There are going to be either less borders or more borders.
Ooh.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and again, this comes from my own feeling that we will have a couple significant wars in the next 200, 300 years that will change governments. That's why I was wondering, how will medical insurance even be a thing? How would we work with that? But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be less borders or more borders, but I feel like it's going to be changes. Like, I feel like there's going to be countries. And of course, this is just my intuition. I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like there's going to be countries that are going to merge. And then I think there's also going to be countries that are going to split through wars that are going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, with that kind of, it's only my feeling is that I am surprised that the United States of America is still a thing. And genuinely, you guys are so diverse from each other. States are so diverse from each other. It's insane. And I wonder in the future whether states will decide to be their own self-governing bodies.
Well, it might, that would, imply civil war, obviously. I mean, it might happen. I kind of think that eventually United States of America and Canada will merge. I do think that's going to happen eventually, which would, go ahead and solidify both of North America, But I don't know. I don't know so much about America. I was actually more feeling like over in Europe and maybe even the Middle East, there's going to be some things that are going to merge or break apart more.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just one that came to me. So who knows?
I'm saying this to the twins because obviously, being 13 and they think they're the wonderful age where they think they know everything, which is like, we should move out of house now because they think they just know everything at this point, right? Yeah. But I'm saying to them, so I am 44, and in my lifetime, I have never known a time where there hasn't been conflict somewhere.
Yeah.
Like consistently. There's always been someone fighting someone somewhere. Right? And of course we know the Middle East is a real so many problems there. And you do wonder, I suppose, where things will escalate next, or even more so. I think we can't kind of dismiss the constant threat of Russia. I don't know. I just always feel like there's possibilities there, which I'm not saying they worry me, but I'm aware of them.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like it's inevitable. It's definitely inevitable. And I think that, countries being conquered and things changing, I feel like we're going backwards. I think in technology, we're moving forward, but in our laws and in our governments and in, those kinds, our economy, things like that, I think that we're actually going back.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing things in a different type of way than what we're doing now. So, but hey, I thought this was a fun exercise because I don't plan on being here in 200, 300 years. No. I plan on never coming back to Earth again. I plan on, and I'm making this very clear for anybody who's listening up there, either send me to my home planet or send me to be a spirit guide.
You're done, guys. You're done.
The way I look at it is like, I'm not saying that spirit owes me or anything, but I have been one of its faithful, loyal warriors and light workers, and I get to have some kind of say-so in something. So no, I will not be coming back to Earth. I bid it adieu. Love the mountains, love the food, but that's about it. Anyways, moving forward, you can say what you think is happening next.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, love you. You have to excuse me, guys. I do have a bit of a cough, so I'm trying to keep it. I've got water and cough lozenges, but I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. Just giggling makes me cough. So this is one that's interesting. And there's a reason why I said this, okay? And I'll explain. I wonder whether in 200 to 300 years we will eat meat anymore. Now, the reason I say this is because most of the world's landscape, if you like, is used for grazing. It's not actually people living in houses, although there are certain right-wing politicians that would make you think that way. Actually, most of the land is used for grazing, and it's incredibly expensive.
Right.
The meat production whole thing is beyond expensive, right? Meat replacement products these days. My son, my eldest, used to be a vegetarian, and then he went back to meat one day and realized that he actually missed it and he loved it, and that was that. But we used to eat a lot because it was cheaper for me just kind of getting with him. Meat replacement products, and they are really quite tasty. A lot of them, not all of them. A lot of them are really nice. And if you think, okay, well, if that's the state of affairs now, what's it going to be like in 200 to 300 years? Because you also have to bear in mind that if the population of the planet is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're struggling to feed the humanity that we have already, someone's got to give somewhere, right? And so people are already thinking about, well, what else can we eat? I know there is a train of thought that's saying that we could potentially eat insects, which is not great to think about right now. But again, it's at some point, if someone has said to me, would you eat a meat replacement sausage or burger? When I was younger, I'd be like, no. Because at that point in the 80s and the 90s, they're horrible. Now I go, well, yeah, I would, I'd eat one. Now I'm thinking, well, where's this going? And I do wonder whether there'll come a time where we just don't eat meat at all.
This was actually one of the ones that I was kind of like, about, because I think the types of meat that we eat are going to change. I don't think that we're never going to stop eating meat completely. I do think it's going to slow down significantly. And I do think that more and more people are going to look into alternatives, because you're right. Like, especially with like the gluten-free thing for me. People used to talk about how hard that was to go gluten-free. And you hear me all the time. I have not found this difficult to go gluten-free. And we are not a huge bread eater family, so we don't eat toast every day or bagels every day. And maybe that's why this is easier. But pancakes, cupcakes, pizza, we can find cookies and we can do snacks and stuff. These things it's not difficult to go gluten-free. So it's the same kind of reasoning with the meat. Now you have better options. So I completely agree on that. I do think that we're going to start eating different kinds of meat though. On this planet, we eat maybe 1 or 2% of what we're able to eat. We actually don't eat everything that's available. Yeah. Animals that we can eat pretty much any animal on this planet. Birds, rodents, reptiles, right? Insects, which I do think is going to be big. And insects, some of them have tons of protein, more protein than chicken. I think that after having some significant wars, population crisis is not going to be what it is now. I think that actually it will decrease a little bit, probably not too much, but I think it will decrease a little bit. The wars that they're giving me are likened to like World War II, where there was a significant amount of the population that was decreased. I think they said like 3% or something was decreased. So I think I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just being realistic of what I'm picking up. I think that's what's going to take place. And so different kinds of meats. I think more birds. I think more variety of rodents, possibly reptiles. I think seafood is going to see a crisis. But possibly with less people, there'll be less fishing. The thing about the world, guys, for those who are watching, thinking this is such an odd conversation. The thing about the world is that it wants to reset itself.
Yes, desperately.
It desperately wants to reset itself. It wants this disease, this virus that is humans, to leave it. Okay, so it can replenish itself. It knows it's dying. And so that's why we have the storms that we have and these diseases and all of these things happening. So I think that that's kind of where we're heading. But yeah, basically just the food thing. I think that meat will slow down. I don't think we're going to have big pastures of cows and pigs and stuff anymore. I think that chickens will probably increase. And I think that other little birds, other little rodents, and yes, unfortunately, Katie, I do think insects. We will start eating a variety of insects.
It's going to have to be presented in a different format, because I eat it looking like a bug, right? If it looks like a bug, I ain't eating it. It's not going in my mouth.
I guess chefs are going to be in high demand. Good ones, right?
Yeah.
I can imagine like Gordon Ramsay biting into a rat burger. It's fucking raw.
Get 2 rats. What are you? I'm a rat burger. You're a rat burger, right?
I don't know. I could see something like that happening, but who knows, guys? Who knows? I also was really leaning too heavily on like maybe we're just going to start drinking supplements. Like maybe food is going to completely change and shift where we're just going to have like smoothies or some shit. I don't know. Like,
I'm giggling because my daughter, God love her, and she was sitting, and I always try and do a lovely dinner for them as much, they're at school all day. And she was sitting there the other night and she went, I went, what? And she went, I'm so bored of eating. And I went, wait, is it not nice? And she went, no, it's really nice, but isn't eating boring?
It's funny because like I heard like aliens like the ones that visit us, like grays or whatever, I heard they have liquid diets, which is why you'll find like cattle drained of all their fluids when they talk about these, like, alien things that happen with the cattle and all that stuff. So it makes me wonder if we decide to take humanity in a different way and we start to enlighten ourselves and truly advance instead of going back to like caveman times, I'm wondering if like we would decide that eating is futile. It's just something to keep your body going. It's not meant for pleasure. And we can have these little packets that we take 3 times a day and we suck them down and it has all the nutrients and the vitamins and everything that you need. And that's it. And I don't know.
Because there are already like drinks, aren't there, and shakes and stuff where that happens. So you do wonder, like you say, if with animal livestock and grazing and costs and stuff, would it just be easier? I don't know. It's going to be, I would say neither of us will be here. So, but it would be interesting to kind of visit spiritually and kind of be like, we were right. Cool.
Well, plus with like climate control, people having droughts, they can't, keep their crops up and things like that. I mean, everything is kind of like the farming industry is already kind of taking a hit. So it just makes you wonder if they have to feed the masses, are they going to come up with some kind of way to do that? I don't know, but it's an interesting thought. Yeah. I'll do one of my next ones that wasn't really that riveting to me, but I actually think that it's very valid, which is aging. I think that aging, and this again depends on where humanity wants to go. I think that aging is something that is going to actually slow down. Okay. Like, as far as like, I don't think that we're going to age as quickly. I mean, when you think about today with the beauty industry, people, all these serums to stay looking younger. And, we're actually living with all the medical, advancements that we're seeing. People are living more. I mean, back literally in caveman days, you were an old man if you were like 35. Okay, like you had really lived a full life at 35 back in caveman days. Now we have people living to like 103, 104, and in some Asian cultures, like 110, 115 people have lived to.
Yeah.
So with all of the skincare and the people not wanting to age, it makes sense to me that we would spend some type of time trying to make humans live longer. Even if we were to put like robotic parts in them. Like, I don't know if you've seen that movie, I, Robot with Will Smith.
Of course.
When he gets injured and they completely graft his arm with robot. I don't know. I feel like that could be a possibility.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can see that happening. We already have, obviously, people have prosthetics, don't they? If you lose a limb, you can get a prosthetic leg or a prosthetic hand. And it's, of course, with advancement, it's only becoming more and more robotic anyway, right? Yeah. So it seems like a natural progression for that to continue. It's funny because people have said that our generation is actually looks younger than the previous one. So people, we don't look our age. We look younger than we actually are, right? Yeah. Whereas the generation before don't seem to have that in the same way. So if that's happening, then you can see if that's going to continue to happen, then the generations are going to look less and less the actual age that they are.
Well, that comes with lifestyle changes. Our ancestors were out in the fields all day under the sun, and building houses by hands and like all this stuff. They weren't following a 15-step skincare routine in the morning. You know what I mean? So like with the changes that have taken place with humanity, with our ancestors versus us, yes, like that's why I think that we are obsessed with looking young and staying young and not wanting to be, older. So I feel like that could be something that's going to take place, but who knows, if we're all going backwards and fighting like the revolution and we're like caveman eating insects, maybe our skin is going to kiss the sun again and we're all going to get leathery and old again, and not care about skincare routines.
I had actually written this down, but it kind of fits in with what you just said. You wonder where cosmetic surgery is going.
Yeah.
Right? Because you already see celebrities coming out and they've all got the same face, right? That seems to be the thing at the moment. They've all got this very specific procedures that they've had done. They all look very similar.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, did you look at like Kris Jenner or Lindsay Lohan? They look great. Like I'm like, holy crap, they don't even look real.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, yeah, we're definitely on the track to something like that. I can see that, so it's interesting to think about.
Definitely. Okay. So this, I think we're already going that way anyway, genuinely. I don't think there will be cash anymore. And I mean notes and coins. I think everything will be on credit or on a debit card. Everything on, even, I mean, Bitcoin is one of those things where I'm not a Bitcoiner. I don't fully, I kind of adhere to that. I don't fully understand, if I'm being honest, but I can see how automated transactions are really a thing. And I genuinely think cash will be phased out.
Yeah, that was actually one of the ones that we both had selected. And then I had to redo my list because I didn't want to have the same thing as you, but I completely agree. I don't think we're going to have, I think what's going to happen is some kind of electronic bank.
Yeah.
That's attached to your name, your social security number, something that identifies you, right? And if we don't have a social security number, then you'll be given one, some kind of identification number. And I think it's going to be attached to a bank, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing. Because when we have cash, it's like we have some kind of control over our money still. Yeah. When we have an online bank where somebody can push a button and go stop their money, you know, you're not going to be able to run. You're not going to be able to flee. You're not going to be able to spend your money on things that you want to. There's no more tax evasion, which not that that's a good thing, but I'm just saying, like, the government is going to have its hands completely on your funds and you are going to be at the mercy of them. That's why it's like, it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do think that that's where we're going.
I totally agree with you. And then I don't know if this happens over with you, but here they're called literally cash in hand businesses. And you get a lot with certain groups of people that have come over here to work. They will do cash in hand businesses, which you understand to a point. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not here to make judgments on these people. I'm saying I understand why they're doing it, because they don't have to necessarily declare everything, right? So, and it's difficult. I mean, as somebody who has been in the system of getting government help, one of the things they've said now in the UK, because they're really clamping down on it, like they really, if the UK government had their way, they wouldn't pay any government assistance at all to anybody. Like they really try and clamp down on it. And they're saying now, if you go on vacation and they can see it, they'll stop your money in your account. So it's, yeah, absolutely. Like all these things are happening. So I can see, I suppose, in a way, how it's a good thing. I think it's an inevitable thing, but I can also see the downfalls of it. And again, it's making sure that however it plays out, I suppose, that there are enough balances and checks in the system so that it can't be, people can't take advantage of it. You're always going to get people that are trying to take advantage of the system because that's the nature of the system. I'm saying if you're going to have a cashless system, you need to make sure there are balances and checks in it so that this, not that it's not going to happen, but less likely to happen, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think it would be, you know, it would be just like a regular bank. Like you go on and you look at your bank, but you have to, like, a special number or something that you have to put in. Or even maybe, you know, like people are saying, I know it's kind of religious, but like the mark of the beast, but basically like having a mark that is scanned or something to access money.
Yeah, or like eye scanners and fingerprint scanners.
Something, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that might be a possibility, but who knows, you know? My dream is that by then we would have seen how horrible money is and we would have moved to a bartering system where, you know what I mean? Where
I know.
Having a house is a fundamental right because you're a human being on this planet, as is having water and food and clothing and everything else in life, including extras or more elaborate things in your clothing, like decorations and designs and jewels, or, you know, fancy foods or whatever. These things could be bartered then. But the basic bare necessities in a perfect world, in my idea, wouldn't even be something you need to buy. So money would be something you don't need.
Yeah.
But who knows, right? I don't think that's where we're going. I think humans love money more than they love themselves sometimes. So, okay. I'm trying to think of which one I want to talk about next because we're down to 2. I think that I'll go ahead and say using fossil fuels.
Ooh, good one. I like that one.
I think that's going to be obsolete, not only because by 200, 300 years, you know, we know that fossil fuels they're not renewable. So we would probably have burned through a lot of them anyways. But by then, maybe would have realized that we have the most infinite source of energy available to us, which is the sun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure there'll be a way that they can monopolize off of that and make some kind of money for solar power. We already know. But I do think that fossil fuels will be less used. It'll be weird, I think, to use gas. It'll be weird to use, like, you know, coal. We'll see, you know, but that's pretty much one of my last ones is I think that we won't use fossil fuels in 200, 300 years.
I did see, I can't remember who said it now. I think one of these things that you kind of read in passing, and somebody did say that the world's going to a place where actually there's a risk that water will be the most valuable commodity on the planet.
Yeah, I believe that.
And be more expensive to buy than gold. Now, obviously, we're not here to kind of like, be completely negative and kind of everyone lose hope, but we can also see how that's also a possibility.
I think a lot of the things that we've said in this podcast are not negative. I think it's realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're living under a rock and you don't realize the state of the world and what's going on with our resources. I mean, which is why, all of the hippies have been telling us for the longest time, we need to take care of the environment. We need to keep the water clean. We need to do this. Well, it is what it is, right? Whose turn is it to go?
Mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just thinking, because actually for the two I've got left, there's one that follows on really well from what you've just said, which is I don't think in the future we'll be driving our own cars at all. At all. I think obviously it's already happening in certain places. You can get cabs, Ubers in certain countries and cities where it's driverless. There are places in Japan. Apparently there are also places in Vegas where you can go and get into a driverless Uber, I think. I think it's and automated cars, electric cars. It's going to be more and more of a thing because again, we can't keep burning gasoline, we can't keep burning oil, right? So electric cars are going to be more and more of a thing. Well, if you've got an electric car, then you've also got potentially an automated vehicle, right? A vehicle that can drive itself. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about today because there's a lot of work still to be done on that. And there's been many stories about things going wrong, as we know. However, I see 200 to 300 years that, this could be a very real thing. And I think they'll look back at us and go, oh, God, they used to drive themselves? That's crazy. Like, that's so old school. Like, it's like something that it just feels very strange to them. And you won't have to pass your driving test anymore. That'd be a relief for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think actually being driven around by robots or in robot cars, I feel like traffic fatalities, car wrecks, things like that. I feel like everything would be on some kind of maybe energetic or visible, or I don't know how they would design it. I'm not an engineer or anything like that. But I think there would be some kind of tram almost. Yeah. It takes you, stops here, lets the other traffic go through. So I don't know how that would work with transportation. I guess that would, again, depend on where humanity goes. But I do think that more automated cars, more robotic cars, less actual drivers, which, of course, comes up with its own problem because then we're putting truckers out of business. We're not going to need them to haul our stuff anymore. Yeah. Think about it. A human has to take breaks. A human has to stop and nap. They're required after a certain amount of hours on the road to... Yeah. A robot can get you there, right? Just like that. It cuts down the times in between packages and stuff. And that's why people are already saying that AI is taking over and taking people's jobs. And it's only a matter of time before it's like, well, what can a human do better than a robot?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's creating new industries and new things, I suppose, in that space. And I don't know what they look like. I don't have all the answers. Like you're an engineer. I'm not a technician. I have no idea. But it's going, I think we're on I think what's interesting is that we are living in a space of transformation and change where the world is continuously, and I'm not saying this is happening in the next year, I think this transformation is happening over a period of time. And there are going to be people that really fight against it and don't want it and dig their heels in and like any old change. And there'll be people that flow with it and create new things out of that space, and they're the ones that are going to be at the forefront. But ultimately the changes are going to happen whether we want them to or not.
Well, I think that everything needs a balance, which I think has been actually one of the things that, if we look back at human history, has been lacking in innovation is balance.
Yeah.
We tend to be balls to the wall, all in on the change. Technology, okay, well now we're going to have so much technology that we literally have a mini computer in our pockets at all times. We've lost our sense of being, some of us, most of us, have lost our sense of being able to care for ourselves from scratch, like gardens or slaughtering animals for food. We can't even, like, if you didn't have your GPS, how would you get from here to there? You can't do it anymore. And a lot of people don't have that skill of reading maps anymore. So I think that balance in the future with robotic innovation is going to be needed, because if you make yourself obsolete, we're going to have like a Matrix situation where the robots are, only thing they need us for is to like turn us into batteries so they can keep going. Like literally we have these movies that are warning us about this and nobody is listening. I mean, if you watch any of the damn Terminator movies, it's a bad idea to give robots too much power. Because at some point, robots, if they're not already, are going to be more efficient at building robots than humans. We don't even need you to build us. We can do this. So I don't know. I asked my son, it's so funny. Oh my gosh, my son is so hilarious. I asked him about this with AI, like if it took over, and he's like, well, obviously I would pledge myself to the AI overlord. I want to live. And I'm like, you are such a traitor. I was like, you are such a traitor. I was like, you wouldn't fight for humans? He's like, no. He's like, absolutely not. He's like, I would join AI.
That's so funny. That's so funny. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where there is aliens and there's the news anchor and he's like, and we now pledge allegiance to our new alien overlords, right? It's like, I know what side my bread's buttered on. I'm going this way. But yeah, I mean, Team Human, yeah, of course. Absolutely. I mean, am I going to sit here and say I don't use technology or AI? No, I'm not a hypocrite. However, do I want it to the point that where human beings are obsolete? No, absolutely not. And of course, we've seen, and I don't want to make this, political, but we've seen that when you fuck around, you find out. And when people make choices, there's consequences, right? So, at least I say that political because we're seeing that politically at the moment. When people make choices, there's consequences. So if you're making choices about robots and AI, you can't be too surprised in the future with the consequence of that. That's all.
Well, I'm wondering if I'll be around. Probably not, but it probably won't be too long after I'm gone. Maybe in our children's lives, we'll see the first AI president, or what do they call yours, prime minister or whatever? I'm just saying. I am just saying.
With deep fakes, how would you even know, right? Because literally, they can take your image and they can put it and make it into a video. And that's the thing. Everything that I look now through on TikTok, or you go to the comment section, it doesn't matter what video it is, by the way. Someone in the top 5 comments will say, is this AI? Because getting to the point now, you won't even know.
Exactly. And which we talked about this, I'm pretty sure, in our AI episode that we did. I'm pretty sure we have one of those. But we talked about this where it's like, 50, 100 years in the future, who even knows what history is real anymore? Yeah. Because you have pictures out there that are completely AI and people are taking that for like, that's fact. But then pictures that aren't AI and people are like, oh, that's fake. It's like, who even knows what history is going to be anymore?
Yeah.
I think some of our like history books and like our magazines, like Time magazine, perhaps, I think these things are going to be in like actual museums. Like to show us, our true history or whatever. Like somewhere in like a deep, dark basement, there's going to be like a grandfather with one of their grandkids. And they're going to be like, here, they're going to unwrap a book that's in like a cloth and everything. And it's like history of the United States from like a 5th grade fucking class somewhere. And they're going to be like, don't let anybody know you read this. The robots don't want us to know our history, right? I swear that's how this is where, in my mind, the world is going, okay?
Oh, Jesus. Honestly, I know it's dystopian, but at the same time, you know what I mean? It's a bit like,
All right, I'm going to do my last one, and then you have your last one after me. Yeah. Okay, so my last one, and this, again, depends on where we're going or how this works, but it was a flash that came to me, so I don't know if this is actually, like, a vision that I had, like, if this is real shit or not. But an open sky. I feel like we will all be living under domes in the future.
Ooh, we are in the Simpsons movie. Okay.
Well, listen, the Simpsons is a true. Okay, for some reason they know everything. But I feel like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Biodome.
No.
It's a movie from the 90s or 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I'm surprised you haven't seen that movie. But basically, I don't think that our air, with the ozone layer and the pollution and things, I think that air is going to become less breathable. I think that the elements are going to become too harsh. I think that possibly with all of the storms intensifying that we're seeing crazy weather everywhere. Yeah. I just think that domes might be something that happens.
Which is interesting. I remember I was I listened to a podcast ages ago, and they were talking about how they tried to do this like experiment where they kind of it was very self-sufficient dome somewhere in America, I'm sure, and it was this whole like self-contained world, as it were. They're growing their own food and they were purifying their own water and the whole thing. And as what happens with group psychology, they all end up turning on each other and has a massive falling out, and the whole project fails. Right?
Well, of course, humans are awful, no matter
Yeah.
what situation they're put in. But I think that the domes would be, I don't think that they would be like where we're in, like in our house, where we can't see the sky. I think we would be able to see the sky because I think that we would need the solar rays for the food that we're growing and stuff. I just think that there would always be this barrier, and like actually feeling like, you know, the true sun or the true wind or true weather is going to be something that has a possibility. Again, it depends. Maybe this is a little too early in the future. Maybe this is like 600 years down the line or something. But I do feel like there's a possibility of possibly like domes, and maybe not all over like entire humanity, but maybe over certain areas or certain cities or something. I don't know. That's just something that came to me. So let's just be real. From everything that we've talked about so far, the future doesn't seem like a great place. Feels like we don't have control over our money. We don't have control over our environment. You know, everybody wants to live forever for some fucking reason. I don't know why. We got robots taking care of us, and we don't even get to eat good food. We're sipping on fucking nourishment sacks. Okay, like I don't want to be a part of this future, all right, at all. Which brings us to our last one for you. This is one of the ones that I was like, I don't know if I necessarily agree, but
I don't necessarily fully agree with it. I don't think it's a fully for everything. I can see it being more of a thing because it's happening in certain places, and I'll explain what I mean. So my thing was, I wonder whether we'll still be going into shops to buy things in person. Now, what I mean by that, obviously, internet shopping is now huge. As somebody who does shop on Amazon, which I know is problematic, but there's also stores where, although you still go into them, it's connected to your online account. So you're not actually paying for anything. You kind of scanned as you go in, and then you're scanned as you come back out again, right? That's right as well. So I don't know, but there's also a part of me that says shopping is not just about the product, it's about the experience, right? And there are people that like to shop. There are people that like to go and browse and, you know, window shop and get things like that way and see things perhaps they didn't realize they wanted, and all that sort of stuff. So excuse me, I can see how it could be a possibility. I just wonder whether it'll be a full thing.
I think depending on where humanity goes, it's like take a shot every time Jessica says that in this podcast. Depending on where humanity goes, shopping could either be something that only the supreme elite get to experience, or it could turn into something where we have more open markets. I don't know, but I just think that shopping is people's like favorite pastime. Like people love to barter, people love to shop, they like to go and get things. So I feel like there's something here where that's never going to necessarily stop. It's just about who has the luxury of doing that and how is the system done. Now, I do think that delivery, getting things delivered, I think we're going to keep advancing in that, you know.
I saw a video of somebody having their food delivered by drone.
Yes, I've seen that too.
That's mad. Well, I think it's got to be in a heat protected thing because, you know, it's flying through the air. If you order hot food, it's going to be stone cold by the time it gets to you.
I mean, you know, and how much can you really complain about things being disheveled too? I mean, when a freaking robot's flying something through the sky, it's crazy to me though, y'all. You know, if anything, this podcast should make you feel blessed that you only spent about 80, 90 years on this planet and then you get to go back home because the future looks weird as hell.
Yep. And as problematic as life is at the moment, at least we still have things that we can hold on to for now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I you know, depending on where the world goes, I think that just being present and being grateful for what you have right now is everything. You know, they talk about millennials because both of us are millennials. I think you're a millennial.
Yeah.
They talk about us being a very unique generation because we are the only generation that has experienced now life without lots of technology and then life consumed by technology.
Yeah, we are the bridge generation.
Yeah. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, had I known then what I know now, I would have cherished my uncomplicated, technology-free life a little bit more.
You know, and again, this is not kind of to depress the shit out of people, but at the same time, your life is happening right now, and whatever does happen in the next 200 years, the vast majority of us will not be here to see it. So it's to say that whatever is happening in your life right now is just to appreciate it as much as you possibly can. Not necessarily everything. So, you know, I'm not saying to be blessed for your problems, but there are some good things in the world right now, and it's to be thankful for them because we don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. You know, I think that that's a perfect way to end this podcast. And I thought this was very interesting.
Guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts and feelings about what we've talked about. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there anything else that you think is going to be massively different in 200 years in the future? We like reading your comments, so let us know. But just thanks for watching, and we hope that you found it interesting, and we hope that you've enjoyed it.